What's up guys? Today I'm going to talk about my personal debt-free journey, how I got into debt, how I became debt-free, and how I'm working towards financial freedom for the future. What's up guys, it's Warren Gosling here, again with simple, actionable financial education tips. If you find my content easy to understand and educational, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing and commenting guys. The YouTube algorithm absolutely loves it when you do that, and it's what helps this channel grow, so please take a second to do that for me guys, really appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about how I fell into £10,000 worth of debt, how I paid it off, and the lessons that I learned along the way. Now, a lot of us are raised in the UK without any material financial education, and I think overall it's fair to say that we have low levels of financial literacy in this country. In fact, not just in the UK, but throughout the world in fact. The more connections I make in this space, because I've done interviews with other content creators based in places like the USA, Canada, Nigeria, etc. There's a recurring theme in all of these places, which is that there's little to no education at school at a young level, intermediate, university level about basic financial concepts such as budgeting, saving, how to pay your bills, how to manage your credit card, how to take out a loan, etc. Basic life skills, guys. And for me, I don't understand how it is that money, which is literally central to the global capitalist society that we live in, doesn't get taught. We virtually don't get taught anything about it in our school systems. To me, it's insane, guys, and I will keep talking about this until this YouTube channel ends. I mean, I got zero money management lessons at secondary school, at least that I remember. I don't know about you guys, let me know in the comment section below, but it's a topic that really grinds my gears.
You know what really grinds my gears?
And gets me frustrated because it's criminal, guys. Now, I have my own theories about that, and allow me to put on my tinfoil conspiracy hat for a second, guys, if you will. But my theory is that I believe the very reason that prudent, responsible money management isn't taught in schools is because we live in a capitalist society which is driven by debt. Having worked in a bank, and I still do, having studied economics, and doing what I do, trust me, when you look at the stats across all of the Western world countries, our economies are driven by debt. The global economy is driven by debt, guys. In fact, if you want to hear a really great explanation on that, watch a YouTube video by a guy called Ray Dalio, D-A-L-I-O, called How the Economic Machine Works. It's excellent. He teaches stuff way better than I ever could. He's much smarter than me. I studied economics at uni, guys, and this is the best description of how the economy and debt are linked that I've personally seen. So he describes how the economy is driven by what we call debt cycles, which are created by governments and central banks. And the key to these is to keep the economy ticking over, because debt generates consumption. The more money you give people, the more money that they'll spend in basic high-level terms. So how does this link to education and financial literacy in our society? Well, essentially, I believe that if more people were really financially educated and financially literate, you would see a lot less unsustainable debt in our societies, which in turn would reduce debt-fueled economic growth, guys. So I think economies would grow at a much slower but steadier and more sustainable rates, and the roles of banks in that particular area would diminish. Now, I'm not saying that there's a high-level global government and bank-backed conspiracy out there to purposely undereducate people on how money works, how debt works. But at the same time, it's not a coincidence that you see this lack of financial literacy and education in the richest economies in the world. So if my channel suddenly disappears with YouTube, guys, you'll know why. But I digress. Let's bring this conversation back to me and my personal debt-free journey. So in summary, I was not financially literate, even though I studied economics at school and uni, by the way, guys. The irony is not lost on me there. But my first key takeaway from you all is that it comes down to improving your financial education. Hence this whole channel, my whole Instagram page, guys. That's what it's all about. That's what I'm trying to bring to people in a simple, accessible way. So if you're not educated, you're not going to be clued up on concepts like delayed gratification, wants and needs, assets versus liabilities, how interest, compound interest, can benefit you or absolutely finish you if you're being charged it over a long term. So you're therefore much more likely and vulnerable to make poor financial decisions.
Now, as you guys know, I love going on shopping sprees, but the biggest shopping spree I've ever done was last year, where I spent $15,000 in Harrods. One of you guys on a massive shopping spree again, and today is the day. Now, to kick things off, we're gonna head over to Fendi on New Bond Street, where they've got a couple of fleeces on hold for me that we're gonna go try on. If they look like big drip, then we're definitely copping. And after that, we're gonna head over to Harrods. But let's not talk too much, let's go run up some racks.
That affect you and others around you negatively. So I'm talking about taking out unsustainable debt or debt that you don't need, falling for financial scams or making poor investment decisions, guys. All of that is all linked to education. Education is key to protecting you from these pitfalls, guys. And it doesn't make you completely immune to these, but it's kind of like a vaccine, guys. To use a timely metaphor, it makes you much less likely to fall victim to these kinds of things, guys. And then on the flip side, on the upside, it sets you up for success. It gives you the knowledge to make good financial decisions, good investments, to build wealth now and in the future. So, bringing it back to me, I was not financially literate when I got into debt, guys. This was at a time when I was in my early 20s. I was on a graduate salary, so my income was relatively low. But weirdly, I was being offered a number of credit cards at the time, guys. Go figure. I had no real credit history, but credit card companies seemed to be flooding me with offers. By the way, now you see what I meant earlier by debt cycles being created and encouraged by governments and banks in order to keep the economy ticking over. So how did I first get into debt? 3 words: Miami lads holiday. It was back in 2013. The guys were going to Miami and there was no way that I could miss that holiday. So in my infinite wisdom, I took up one of the credit card companies on their numerous offers. And my thinking was that I'd just whack the plane tickets to Miami on the credit card just to lock them in, and then I'll just pay it off over the next few months, and that would be that. I'll just use it, temporary thing. How wrong was I, guys? And that's how completely unassuming and innocent it was, guys. A lad's holiday sent me into a journey into £10,000 worth of debt. Now, I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody else watching right now. Let me know in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, share your stories. But fast forward a couple of years, it all came to a head when I found myself paying close to £200 per month in interest every month, but not making a dent in the actual principal or capital of the debt. It was just interest I was paying. And it was a horrible, horrible feeling each month, guys, to see that sum going out of my account every month without even touching the edges of the actual debt. So after a good year or so of this, I was demoralized and fed up to the point where I said to myself, I don't know how, but I need to get myself out of this situation. It's not going to work long term anymore. And I didn't know at the time, but that was my first step towards financial literacy and becoming more educated on personal finance. So that's how I fell into debt, guys. It all stemmed from a lack of financial education and financial literacy. So if you're watching this video right now, if you're following me on Instagram, if you're following other content similar to this, give yourselves a pat on the back. You are on the right track. You're on the first steps towards turning your situation around and building wealth. You're exactly where I was 5 or so years ago when I started my journey out of debt. I was just looking for content, resources, books, anything I could find, I was watching it. So financial freedom is in reaching distance. Trust me on that, guys. It's impossible to distill all of my education into one video, but there is one, I guess, foundational, overarching, key,
important, vital, essential, crucial, significant, pertinent, golden, vibranium, invaluable, precious, not to be missed,
not to be forgotten outcome from my financial education, guys. And that's going to be my second takeaway, which you probably guessed already, which is create a budget, guys. Create a budget. I've mentioned the importance of having a budget over and over again in my videos, and I won't stop, to the point where you might think that I'm obsessed, which I am. But if I only had one goal out of all of these videos, guys, it will be for you to create a budget. Simple as that. This is how we get out from debt, guys. It all starts with a budget. And to do all that, I've created a video on how to create a budget and how to maintain it, guys. So go watch that. It's in the description section below. Once I created a budget, the next step was to prioritize my debts. Now again, I created a video on this for you guys. The link is in the description below. But essentially, once you've done your budget and you know how much you've got at the end of each month, you're going to want to figure out which debt you're actually going to pay off first, because you might have more than one. And the priority is going to be primarily determined by which debts are charging very high rates of interest and which debts carry some form of enforcement action, such as disconnection from utilities, removal of goods, court action, etc. if you fall behind or are in arrears. And this was the strategy that I followed, guys. I had a credit card racking up, as I said, a couple of £100 in interest alone every month. And I decided to target that one first because it was very high interest, and all of my residual income available for debt at the end of each month went straight to that credit card debt. I was a beast with it, guys, and I put everything I had into getting that balance down as quickly as possible. And let me tell you, there is no better feeling than absolutely dismantling a big debt and seeing it crumble month to month and eventually getting it down into nothing, guys. It's a great feeling. You really feel like you've achieved something. You're gonna want to celebrate by the end of it, guys. Trust me. You're gonna go out. You're gonna need a night out. You're gonna need some drinks. It's a good feeling, guys. And then the next step was to automate my debt repayment. So standing orders and direct debits. Take yourself out of the equation, guys, as a potential point of failure. Tell your bank accounts to automatically make these debt repayments on a specific day each month, rather than having to manually do it yourself each month on time, because it's too much, guys. Take yourself out of the equation. Give yourself one less thing to worry about doing each month, guys, when it comes to your finances. And then lastly was that I reduced my credit card limits, but I did not cancel them, guys, and I'm going to explain why. I reduced them, but I did not cancel them. Now, that might seem counterintuitive to keep a credit card, especially after everything I've been through with the debt that I racked up on it, but I kept it for one reason. And why is that? The reason was to keep building my credit score. Having a credit card is actually a good thing for your credit score, guys, but you want to be making payments every month on the balance, ideally in full, guys, because this demonstrates to the banks, they like this. It demonstrates to them that you're able to have debt and pay it back responsibly and consistently on time every month. Banks would rather see that than no history of debt at all, okay? Let me say it one more time. Banks would rather see you with a history of debt repayment consistently. Trust me, I'm a banker. So that's my story of how I paid off £10,000 worth of debt, guys. It took me a good few years, but now I'm in a position where I'm completely free of unsustainable debt, and I've transitioned into earning residual income from property, side hustles, stocks and shares, and I'm building long-term wealth for the future. So let's just recap, guys. The steps that I took were, I started with improving my financial education. Then I created a budget. Then I prioritized my debts. Then I automated my debt repayments once that was sorted out. And then I reduced the limit on my credit card, but I did not get rid of it completely to build my credit score, okay? If you found today's video useful and actionable and educational, guys, subscribe and comment. You guys have a good week, and I'll see you next Monday.